Lisa Martinez walked slowly down the dusty road outside Denver, her empty stomach making quiet noises that reminded her she had not eaten since yesterday morning. The $5 bill in her pocket was all the money she had left until her next part-time job payment came in 3 days. She needed to buy something to eat, but her feet kept moving toward the strange gathering of people and vehicles ahead. Someone had set up what looked like an animal sale on the side of the highway. Old pickup trucks and rusty trailers formed a rough circle around cages and pens filled with dogs, cats, and other animals. Lisa knew she should turn around and walk back to her tiny apartment, but something pulled her forward. Maybe it was her veterinary student training that made her curious about the animals, or maybe it was just the loneliness of living alone in a new city far from her family. The man running the sale looked rough and unfriendly. His clothes were dirty and his eyes moved quickly from person to person, like he was nervous about something. Lisa noticed that most of the animals looked healthy enough, though some seemed scared. She walked slowly between the cages, looking at the different dogs and cats. Some people were already buying pets, counting out money and loading carriers into their cars. Then she saw him. In the back corner, away from the other animals, a large German shepherd lay on his side in a small cage. Even from a distance, Lisa could see that something was very wrong with this dog. His breathing looked shallow and painful. Dark stains covered parts of his beautiful brown and black fur. As she got closer, her veterinary training kicked in and she started noticing more details that made her heart sink. The dog had several deep cuts on his legs and sides that looked infected. His left ear was torn and bleeding. But what made Lisa stop and stare were the strange metal pieces that seemed to be attached to different parts of his body. Thin wires ran from small metal discs near his ears, down to larger metal plates on his chest and legs. At first she thought someone had done terrible experiments on this poor animal. Lisa knelt down next to the cage and spoke softly to the dog. His eyes opened slowly and looked directly at her. For a moment she felt like this dog was actually studying her face, like he was trying to figure out what kind of person she was. His eyes seemed much more intelligent than any dog she had ever seen. They were also filled with pain and something that looked almost like sadness. The rough man noticed her interest and walked over quickly. He looked down at the injured dog and made an angry face. "That one is nothing but trouble," he said in a loud voice. "Been trying to get rid of him for weeks. He just lays there and won't eat much. Probably going to die soon anyway." Lisa felt anger rise in her chest. What happened to him? Who hurt him like this? The man shrugged and looked away. "Found him on the side of the road up in the mountains. Someone probably dumped him there. Look, lady, I got other animals to sell. You want him or not?" Lisa looked back at the dog. He was still watching her with those strange, intelligent eyes. She could see his chest moving up and down with each difficult breath. The metal pieces attached to his body caught the sunlight and seemed to shimmer in ways that normal metal should not. Her veterinary training told her this dog needed immediate medical attention or he would probably die within days. "How much?" she asked, even though she knew she could not afford to buy a pet when she barely had enough money for food. $100, the man said quickly. Lisa's heart sank. She did not have anywhere near that much money. She started to stand up to walk away, but the dog made a small sound that was almost like a whimper. When she looked down, he was still staring at her with an expression that seemed to be asking for help. "I only have $5, she said quietly, not really expecting the man to consider such a low offer. The man looked around at the other people at the sale, then back at the injured dog. "You know what? Fine, take him. $5 and he's yours. Just get him out of here." Lisa could not believe what she was hearing. She quickly pulled the $5 bill from her pocket and handed it to the man before he could change his mind. He unlocked the cage and helped her carefully lift the large dog out. The animal was heavier than she expected, and she could feel how thin he was under his thick fur. As they carried him, Lisa noticed that the metal pieces attached to his body were not just stuck on the surface. They seemed to be somehow connected directly to his skin and muscles, in ways that looked like advanced medical technology. The wires running between the metal pieces pulsed with very faint lights that were almost too dim to see. The man helped her get the dog to her old car, and they placed him carefully on the back seat. Lisa used an old blanket from her trunk to make him more comfortable. As she drove slowly back to her apartment, she kept looking in the rearview mirror at her new companion. He had not made any sounds during the move, but his eyes stayed open and alert. Lisa lived in a small apartment on the third floor of an old building. Getting the injured dog up the stairs was difficult, but somehow, she managed to carry him up one step at a time. He seemed to understand that she was trying to help him and did not struggle or try to bite her, even though moving probably caused him pain. Once inside her tiny apartment, Lisa made a soft bed for the dog using all her extra blankets and pillows. She placed him gently on the makeshift bed and knelt beside him to get a better look at his injuries. The cuts and wounds were worse than she had first thought, and some of them were clearly infected. But the metal pieces were what really confused her. They looked like nothing she had ever seen in any veterinary textbook or medical journal. The metal seemed to be made of some kind of material that was both very strong and very light. The connections to his body looked like they had been made by someone with extremely advanced surgical skills. Lisa got her basic first aid supplies and started cleaning the wounds that she could reach safely. The dog lay still and let her work, occasionally looking up at her with those intelligent eyes. As she worked, she kept talking to him in a soft voice, telling him that she was going to take care of him and that everything would be okay. "I think I'll call you Commander," she said as she carefully cleaned a cut on his leg. "You look like you might have been some kind of military or police dog before whatever happened to you." When she said the name Commander, the dog's ears moved slightly and his eyes seemed to focus on her face more intently. Lisa smiled and continued working on his wounds, not knowing that she had just given her new companion back the closest thing to his real name that any human had ever spoken. 3 days had passed since Lisa brought Commander home, and she was starting to see small improvements in his condition. The infected wounds were responding well to the antibiotics she had managed to get from her veterinary school clinic. She had told her supervisor that she was treating a stray dog, which was technically true, and he had given her some basic medical supplies to help. Lisa had to work extra shifts at her part-time job at a local coffee shop to pay for the dog food and medical supplies. She was surviving on very little food herself, but seeing Commander slowly get stronger made the sacrifice worth it. Each morning before going to work and each evening when she came home, she would clean his wounds and check on his progress. What puzzled her most were the metal pieces attached to his body. The more she studied them, the more convinced she became that they were not the result of cruel experiments. The craftsmanship was too perfect, and the way they connected to his nervous system showed a level of medical knowledge that seemed beyond anything she had learned in veterinary school. The metal seemed to be helping him heal faster than should be possible. Commander was also displaying behaviors that were unlike any dog Lisa had ever seen. He seemed to understand everything she said to him, not just simple commands but complete sentences and complex ideas. When she explained that she needed to go to work and would be back later, he would settle down calmly, as if he truly understood the concept of time and waiting. He had also started watching her laptop computer with intense interest whenever she used it for her schoolwork. At first, Lisa thought he was just curious about the moving pictures on the screen, but she began to notice that his eyes were tracking the text as she scrolled through her veterinary textbooks and research papers. It almost looked like he was reading along with her. On the 4th morning, Lisa was cleaning around the metal disc near Commander's left ear, when her finger accidentally pressed against a small raised area on the device. Suddenly, the metal piece became warm and began to glow with a soft blue light. Commander's eyes immediately snapped open and stared directly at her face with an intensity that made her freeze. For several seconds, both Lisa and Commander remained perfectly still, looking at each other. Then something extraordinary happened. The blue light from the metal disc began to pulse in a regular rhythm, and Lisa could hear a very faint humming sound coming from the device. Commander slowly raised his head and looked around her apartment as if he was seeing it for the first time. Lisa watched in amazement as Commander carefully stood up on his still healing legs and walked over to her laptop computer. Using his nose, he somehow managed to wake the computer from sleep mode. The screen lit up, showing the desktop where Lisa had been working on a research paper about canine neurological disorders. What happened next made Lisa question whether she was dreaming. Commander placed his right front paw very precisely on the laptop's touchpad and began moving it in small, controlled motions. The cursor on the screen moved exactly where he seemed to want it to go. He was operating her computer with the skill of someone who had used this technology many times before. Lisa sat on the floor next to him, hardly breathing as she watched Commander navigate through her computer files. He opened her internet browser and began typing by pressing individual keys with the tip of his claw. His typing was slow but deliberate, and Lisa realized he was spelling out words in perfect English. The first thing he typed was, "Thank you for helping me." Lisa stared at the words on the screen, then looked at Commander, who was looking back at her with those intelligent eyes. Her mind struggled to process what she was seeing. Dogs could not type. Dogs could not read. Dogs could not understand complex technology. But the evidence was right in front of her. "How is this possible?" she whispered. Commander turned back to the keyboard and slowly typed, "I am not exactly what you think I am." Lisa felt her heart racing.
What do you mean?
"What are you?" Commander paused for a long moment as if deciding how much to tell her. Then he began typing again. "I am from very far away. My ship crashed in your mountains. My crew died. I have been hiding among your animals while my body heals." Lisa read the words several times before their meaning really sank in. "Your ship? You mean like a spacecraft? You're saying you're an alien?" Commander's response was simple. "Yes." For several minutes, Lisa just sat there trying to understand what was happening. Part of her mind insisted that this had to be some kind of elaborate joke, or that she was having a stress-induced breakdown from working too many hours and eating too little food. But the larger part of her mind, the part trained in scientific observation, was telling her that what she was seeing was real. Commander seemed to sense her confusion. He typed, "I know this is difficult to believe. I did not plan to reveal myself to any humans, but you saved my life and I was dying. The technology keeping me alive was failing." "The metal pieces," Lisa said suddenly. "They're not from Earth, are they?" "No. They are biomechanical interfaces that allow my consciousness to function in this body. My original form was damaged beyond repair in the crash. This was an emergency adaptation." Lisa looked more closely at Commander's body. Now that she knew what to look for, she could see that the metal pieces were far more sophisticated than any technology she had ever encountered. They seemed to be seamlessly integrated with his biological systems in ways that should have been impossible. "Why do you look like a German shepherd?" she asked. Commander typed, "When we scout new worlds, we often use biomechanical bodies that resemble local life forms. It allows us to observe without causing panic. I was studying your species when my ship was attacked." "Attacked by who?" "Others who do not believe your species is ready for contact with the galaxy. They want to claim your world before you develop enough to defend yourselves." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "There are others coming here?" "Yes. My mission was to determine whether humans possess the qualities that would make them valuable allies. Your species is still technologically primitive, but you have other strengths that some of us believe could be important." "What kind of strengths?" Commander looked at her for a long moment before typing. "Compassion. The ability to care for others even when it costs you greatly. 3 days ago, you spent your last money to help a suffering animal you had never seen before. You have been caring for me at personal cost ever since. This is the quality we were sent to evaluate." Lisa thought about this. "So you've been testing me?" "Not intentionally. I was too injured to make contact. But your actions toward me have been observed and recorded by my superiors." "How?" Commander touched the metal disc near his ear with his paw. "Everything I experience is transmitted to our fleet. They are waiting beyond your outer planets, deciding whether to make formal contact with your governments or to leave your species to face the coming threat alone." Lisa felt overwhelmed by the implications of what she was learning. "What threat?" "A military empire that conquers primitive worlds. They enslave useful species and destroy those they consider worthless. They are approximately 6 of your months away from reaching Earth." 6 months? Lisa's voice was barely a whisper. "What can we do? Our weapons are nothing compared to what you're describing." Commander turned back to the keyboard. "That depends on what my superiors decide about your species. Your individual actions may have changed the course of that decision." Lisa looked at Commander, this being from another world who had been disguised as an injured dog. "What happens now?" "Now we wait. But there is something you should know. My healing is almost complete, but my communications with the fleet are still damaged. If the aggressive forces detect my presence before I can make contact with my people, they will consider Earth to be harboring enemy agents." "What does that mean?" Commander's response made Lisa's blood run cold. "It means they will attack immediately rather than waiting for their main fleet to arrive." As if summoned by his words, A low rumbling sound began to fill the air outside Lisa's apartment. Both she and Commander turned toward the window as strange lights began to flash in the sky above the city. The rumbling sound outside grew louder, and the strange lights in the sky began to move in patterns that were clearly not natural phenomena. Lisa pressed her face against the window of her small apartment and watched as 3 dark shapes descended through the clouds above Denver. They were moving too smoothly to be aircraft and were completely silent except for the low vibration that seemed to shake the entire building. Commander moved quickly to Lisa's laptop and began typing with urgent, rapid movements. "They have found me. These are scout ships from the Dominion Empire. They must have detected my biosignature when my systems activated." Lisa felt panic rising in her chest. "What do they want?" "Me. And they will consider any human who has helped me to be an enemy collaborator." Through the window, Lisa could see people in the streets pointing up at the sky. Some were taking pictures with their phones while others were running for cover. The 3 dark ships had stopped their descent and were now hovering about 1,000 feet above the city. They looked like nothing Lisa had ever seen in any science fiction movie, with smooth flowing lines that seemed to shift and change as she watched. Commander's typing became even more frantic. "I need to contact my fleet, but my long-range communications are still damaged. The equipment in my ship might be repairable, but the crash site is 50 miles away in the mountains." "We need to call someone," Lisa said, reaching for her phone. "The military, the government, somebody who can handle this." "No." Commander's response appeared on the screen immediately. "Your governments are not ready for this situation. They would either panic and do something that makes things worse, or they would try to capture me to study my technology. Neither option helps us right now." One of the ships began descending again, this time heading directly toward Lisa's neighborhood. As it got closer, she could see that it was much larger than it had appeared from a distance. The ship was at least the size of a football field, and its surface seemed to be covered with weapons that were beginning to glow with ominous energy. "They're going to land," Lisa whispered. Commander looked up from the laptop and made a decision. He walked over to where Lisa kept her school supplies and carefully picked up a pen in his mouth. Then he moved to a blank piece of paper and began drawing with remarkable precision. Despite having to hold the pen in his teeth, his lines were straight and his proportions were perfect. What he drew made Lisa's eyes widen. It was a detailed map showing the route from her apartment to the mountains where his ship had crashed. He marked specific landmarks and even included estimated travel times. At the crash site, he drew a diagram of his damaged spacecraft and marked the location of the communications equipment he needed to repair. When he finished drawing, Commander returned to the laptop and typed, "We have perhaps 1 hour before they complete their initial scan of the city and locate this building. If I can reach my ship and repair the communications array, I can contact my fleet and request immediate assistance." "That's 50 miles through mountain roads," Lisa said, studying the map. "Even if we leave right now, it would take at least 2 hours to get there. Then we need to leave immediately and hope we can avoid their patrol sweeps." Lisa looked out the window again. The large ship had landed in a park about 6 blocks away, and she could see smaller vehicles emerging from it and spreading out through the city. They moved with the efficiency of a military operation, systematically searching building by building. "Okay," she said, surprising herself with how calm her voice sounded. "Let's go." She quickly gathered some supplies, her first aid kit, some food and water, and the tools from her veterinary kit that might be useful for repairing technological equipment. Commander watched her preparations and then typed one more message. "Lisa, you should know that helping me puts you in great danger. Once the Dominion knows you have assisted me, they will consider you a hostile entity." Lisa stopped packing and looked at him. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means they will try to capture or eliminate you along with me." For a moment, Lisa considered the magnitude of what she was about to do. 3 days ago, her biggest worry had been paying for groceries. Now she was about to go on the run with an alien being while hostile spacecraft searched for them. Any reasonable person would probably turn Commander over to the authorities and hope for the best. But as she looked at him, she remembered the moment she had first seen him lying injured in that cage. She remembered the look in his intelligent eyes and the way he had trusted her to help him. Most importantly, she thought about what he had told her about the coming threat to Earth. If there was even a chance that helping him could make a difference for her entire species, she had to take that chance. "I'm not leaving you," she said firmly. "We're going to get to your ship and get your communications working." Commander's response was simple. "Thank you." They made their way carefully down the stairs from Lisa's apartment. The building's other residents were either hiding in their homes or had evacuated, so the hallways were empty. Lisa could hear sirens in the distance and the sound of helicopters, which meant the human authorities were starting to respond to the situation. Her old car started on the second try, and Lisa drove slowly out of the parking lot, trying to look like just another person evacuating the area. The streets were chaotic, with people driving frantically in all directions. Some were trying to get closer to see the alien ships, while others were trying to get as far away as possible. As they drove through the city, Lisa could see the Dominion search vehicles moving methodically through the neighborhoods. They looked like oversized motorcycles with no wheels, floating a few feet above the ground and scanning everything with bright beams of light. Whenever the light touched a building, Lisa could see the structure become partially transparent, as if the beam could see through walls. "Those are bioscanners," Commander typed on Lisa's tablet, which she had brought along. "They can detect any non-human life signatures within a building. As long as we keep moving, they should not be able to get a clear reading on me." They reached the edge of the city without being detected, but Lisa knew the real challenge was just beginning. The mountain roads leading to the crash site were narrow and winding, with very few places to hide if the Dominion decided to expand their search area. As they climbed higher into the mountains, Lisa kept checking her rearview mirror for any sign of pursuit. Commander seemed to be getting stronger as they traveled. The biomechanical devices attached to his body were glowing more brightly now, and he was able to move with less apparent pain. Lisa wondered if being closer to his crashed ship was somehow helping his systems function better. After driving for almost an hour, Commander indicated that they needed to leave the main road and follow a smaller trail that led deeper into the forest. Lisa's car was not designed for off-road travel, but she managed to navigate the rough terrain by driving very slowly and carefully. Finally, Commander signaled for her to stop. Through the trees ahead, Lisa could see something that definitely did not belong in a Colorado forest. The wreckage of Commander's ship was partially buried in the side of a steep hill, covered with fallen trees and debris, but even damaged and hidden, Lisa could tell that it represented technology far beyond anything humans had developed. The ship was roughly triangular, but its edges seemed to flow and curve in ways that made it difficult to determine exactly where one surface ended and another began. The metal appeared to be the same unusual material as Commander's biomechanical components, and Lisa could see faint patterns of light moving across its surface like a slow, alien heartbeat. "The communications array is in the forward section," Commander typed. "If it survived the crash, I should be able to repair it with the right tools." Lisa gathered her supplies and followed Commander toward the wreckage. As they got closer, she realized that the crash had happened relatively recently. The trees that had been knocked down were still green, and there was very little rust or weather damage on the ship's surface. Commander led her to a section of the ship where the hull had been torn open during the crash. Inside, Lisa could see a compartment filled with equipment that looked both incredibly advanced and severely damaged. Sparks occasionally flew from broken connections, and several panels were dark that should probably have been glowing. "This is where I need your help," Commander indicated. "Your veterinary training includes precision work with small instruments. My paws cannot manipulate the delicate components, but your hands can." Lisa looked at the alien technology and felt overwhelmed. "I don't know anything about this kind of equipment." Commander moved to a console that was still partially functional and activated what appeared to be a holographic display. Three-dimensional images appeared in the air above the console, showing detailed diagrams of the communications system and step-by-step repair procedures. "I will guide you through each step," he typed, "but you must work quickly. Every minute we spend here increases the chance that the Dominion will find us." Lisa took a deep breath and stepped into the alien spacecraft, ready to attempt repairs on technology that was beyond her understanding. As she picked up the first tool from Commander's instructions, she heard a new sound in the distance. The unmistakable noise of aircraft approaching there. The sound of approaching aircraft grew louder as Lisa worked frantically on the alien communications equipment. Commander had positioned himself near the entrance to the ship's damaged compartment. watching for any signs of the Dominion search forces while simultaneously guiding Lisa through the complex repair procedures. Connect the blue crystalline component to the central processing matrix. Commander's instructions appeared on a small display screen inside the ship. Be very careful not to touch the energy conduits while they are active. Lisa's hands were shaking slightly as she manipulated the delicate alien technology. The components were unlike anything she had ever seen, made of materials that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. Some pieces felt warm to the touch, while others were so cold they almost burned her fingers. Despite their alien nature, the tools and components somehow felt natural in her hands, as if they had been designed to be operated by beings with human-like appendages. As she worked, Commander began explaining more about the situation Earth was facing. His communications with her had evolved beyond simple typing, and now he was able to project text and images directly onto the ship's internal displays. My species is called the Kailari, the display showed. We are part of a coalition of worlds that has been monitoring your solar system for the past 50 of your years. Earth sits at a critical junction between two major galactic territories, making it strategically important to multiple factions. Lisa carefully connected another component while processing this information. You've been watching us for 50 years? Yes, initially your species was considered too primitive to be of interest to anyone. But in recent decades, your rapid technological advancement and your expansion into space has attracted attention from several galactic powers, including these Dominion people who are hunting us now. Commander's response filled the screen with disturbing information. The Dominion Empire controls over 300 star systems. They expand by conquering primitive worlds and either enslaving the populations or eliminating them if they prove troublesome. They prefer to attack civilizations before they become advanced enough to mount effective resistance. Lisa paused in her work and looked at the display. How advanced do we need to be to defend ourselves? With your current technology, Earth would fall within days of a full Dominion assault. However, technological advancement is not the only factor that determines a species' value to the galaxy. The aircraft sounds outside were getting much closer now. Lisa could tell from the noise that these were not human helicopters or planes. The sound had a strange harmonic quality that seemed to resonate in her bones. I need to work faster, she said, returning her attention to the repairs. What other factors determine our value? Commander's explanation continued as Lisa connected more components. The coalition evaluates species based on several criteria. Technological capability is important, but so are cultural traits like adaptability, creativity, and compassion. Some of the most valuable member species in the coalition were technologically primitive when they were discovered, but they possessed other qualities that made them excellent allies. What kind of qualities? Your species displays remarkable individual initiative and creative problem-solving abilities. Most galactic civilizations develop along predictable technological paths, but humans consistently find unexpected solutions to complex problems. You also show extraordinary loyalty and willingness to sacrifice for others, even for individuals outside your immediate family groups. Lisa thought about this while carefully aligning a crystalline matrix component. Is that unusual? Extremely. Most species limit their compassionate behaviors to genetically related individuals or members of their immediate social groups. Humans regularly help complete strangers at personal cost, which is virtually unknown among other intelligent species. The aircraft sound suddenly stopped, which Lisa realized was probably worse than if they had continued flying past. They've landed somewhere nearby, she whispered. Commander confirmed her fears. Estimated distance is less than 1 kilometer. We have perhaps 10 minutes before their ground forces reach this location. Lisa's hands moved faster as adrenaline sharpened her focus. Tell me more about this coalition. Are they the good guys? The coalition does not impose control over member worlds. Each species maintains autonomy over their home systems, while contributing to mutual defense and scientific advancement. Members are protected from external threats and gain access to advanced technologies and interstellar trade networks. That sounds too good to be true. There are costs and responsibilities. Member species must meet certain ethical standards in how they treat other intelligent life. They must contribute resources and personnel to coalition defense forces, and they must be willing to accept refugees from species whose worlds have been destroyed. Lisa successfully connected the final component in the first repair sequence. Immediately, several panels in the ship's compartment began glowing with soft light, and she could hear a low humming sound as systems came back online. Excellent progress, Commander's message appeared. Now we need to calibrate the transmission array. This requires more delicate work, but you are demonstrating remarkable aptitude for this technology. As Lisa began the calibration process, Commander shared more crucial information. I should tell you about my specific mission on Earth. I was not sent here merely to observe your species from a distance. What do you mean? 3 months ago, Coalition intelligence detected Dominion scout ships conducting reconnaissance in your solar system. A full invasion fleet is being assembled in a nearby star system. The Coalition High Command needed to make an immediate decision about whether to offer Earth membership and protection, or to abandon your world to its fate. Lisa felt a chill as she worked. They would just abandon us? The Coalition cannot protect every primitive world from the Dominion. Resources are limited, and some species are simply not ready for galactic contact. The decision is always based on careful evaluation of a species' potential contribution to the greater galactic community. So you were sent to evaluate us? I was sent to conduct the final assessment. Previous observation missions had provided data about your technological capabilities and social structures. But the Coalition needed to understand something that cannot be measured through remote observation. Lisa finished calibrating one section of the array and moved to the next. What couldn't they measure? The depth of human compassion and moral courage. Many species demonstrate basic cooperation and social bonding, but very few show the willingness to help others at significant personal cost, especially when those others are completely alien. The implications of what Commander was saying began to sink in. My helping you wasn't just kindness. It was a test, not intentionally. When my ship was shot down by the Dominion scouts, I was badly injured, and my equipment was failing. I managed to reach the animal sail where you found me, but I was dying. I had accepted that my mission would fail and that Earth would probably be abandoned to face the Dominion alone. Lisa connected another component and watched as more systems activated. But I bought you for $5. You spent your last money to help a suffering animal you had never seen before. You took me to your home and cared for me despite your own financial difficulties. Most importantly, you continued caring for me even after learning the truth about who I am and the danger that helping me would bring. So the Coalition has been watching everything through your eyes. Every moment since you brought me home has been transmitted to the Coalition fleet, waiting beyond Neptune. Your actions have been observed by the High Command and by representatives of all major Coalition species. Lisa realized that her hands had stopped shaking as she worked. The alien technology was starting to make sense to her, and she found herself understanding the repair procedures almost intuitively. What did they decide? The final decision is still being made. But I can tell you that your individual actions have had a significant impact on the debate. Several species that were opposed to offering Earth membership have changed their positions based on what they have observed. A new sound interrupted their conversation. The unmistakable noise of boots on forest ground moving in their direction, multiple sets of footsteps, advancing in a coordinated pattern that suggested military training. Dominion ground forces, Commander confirmed. Estimated arrival time is 3 minutes. Lisa's heart raced, but she forced herself to focus on the final connections. How much more do I need to do? 2 more components, then a final activation sequence. But Lisa, there is something else you need to know about your choice to help me. What? The Coalition has strict policies about protecting species that demonstrate exceptional moral courage. If Earth is granted membership based on your actions, every human who played a role in helping me will be offered special protection and opportunities within Coalition society. Lisa connected the second to last component. What kind of opportunities? Training in advanced technologies, positions in Coalition research and exploration missions, and the chance to serve as ambassadors to other worlds. Your veterinary skills combined with your demonstrated compassion would make you ideally sweet for xenobiological research and first contact missions. The footsteps outside were getting very. The communications array hummed with increasing intensity as Commander's message transmitted to the Coalition fleet. Lisa could see status displays showing the signal strength growing stronger, but she could also see the shadows of approaching Dominion soldiers moving through the trees. Outside the crashed ship, Commander. moved quickly to another console and began activating what appeared to be defensive systems. The transmission is reaching the Coalition fleet, but it will take several minutes to complete the full data transfer. We need to delay the Dominion forces. How do we do that? Lisa asked, looking around the alien compartment for anything that might help. This ship still has limited defensive capabilities. I can activate energy shields that will protect us temporarily, but the Dominion will eventually break through them. Lisa watched as Commander operated the ship's controls with remarkable skill despite his injuries. Energy barriers began forming around the crash site, creating a shimmering dome of protection. The Dominion soldiers outside immediately began firing energy weapons at the shields, creating bright flashes of light and explosive sounds. How long will the shields hold? Lisa asked. Perhaps 10 minutes with full power. But the ship's energy reserves are limited due to crash damage. As if to confirm Commander's words, the shield began flickering slightly under the sustained attack from outside. The Dominion soldiers had taken positions in a circle around the crash site and were methodically targeting weak points in the energy barrier. Commander turned to Lisa with an expression that seemed almost human in its mixture of gratitude and sadness. Lisa, there is something important I must tell you about your choice to help me. It was not just an act of kindness that impressed the Coalition. What do you mean? The Coalition has been observing Earth for decades, waiting for a specific type of event. They needed to see evidence that humans could recognize and assist members of other species, even when those beings were disguised or in distress. Lisa felt a strange sensation as she processed this information. You're saying this was all planned? Not planned exactly, but anticipated. The Coalition has developed protocols for testing newly discovered species. The test involves placing a disguised Coalition member in a situation where they require help from the local population. So other humans failed this test? Commander's display showed a complex chart with data about multiple incidents over the past several months. 47 Coalition agents have been placed in various situations requiring human assistance. Most were ignored. Several were helped briefly but abandoned when the cost became inconvenient. You are the first human to provide sustained care despite personal sacrifice. The implications hit Lisa like a physical blow. All those injured animals in shelters and on the streets, some are genuine Earth animals in need of help. But yes, some have been Coalition agents observing human behavior. Your species has been under more intensive evaluation than you realized. The shield flickered more dramatically as the Dominion increased their attack intensity. Lisa could hear their harsh voices growing louder and more urgent as they coordinated their assault. Why are you telling me this now? Lisa asked. Because the Coalition fleet is responding to my transmission, and you will soon have choices to make that will affect not just your own future, but the future of human-Coalition relations. On the ship's main display, new information began appearing. Long-range sensors were detecting multiple spacecraft approaching Earth from the outer solar system. Lisa could see dozens of icons representing Coalition vessels moving at incredible speeds toward their location. They're coming to help us? She asked. They are coming to evaluate the situation and make final decisions about Earth's status. But there is something else happening that complicates everything. Commander activated another display that showed a different part of space. Much farther away but moving toward the solar system was a massive fleet of ships with a completely different design. These vessels were angular and aggressive-looking, bristling with obvious weapon systems. The main Dominion invasion fleet. They have detected the Coalition fleet's movement and are accelerating their approach. What was supposed to be a gradual evaluation process has now become an immediate crisis. Lisa stared at the tactical display. How long do we have? The Coalition fleet will arrive here within 2 hours. The Dominion main fleet will reach Earth in approximately 6 hours. The Coalition will have to decide whether to commit to defending Earth or to withdraw, and let the Dominion claim this system. What determines their decision? Partly the strategic value of this solar system, partly the assessment of human potential, based on everything they have observed. But mostly it will depend on what happens in the next few hours. The shields around their position failed completely, leaving them exposed to the Dominion ground forces. Lisa could see armored figures moving through the forest toward the crashed ship, their energy weapons glowing with deadly intent. Stay behind me, Commander instructed as he moved toward the ship's entrance. These soldiers will try to capture us alive for interrogation, but they will not hesitate to use lethal force if we resist. Can't we fight them? This ship has no operational weapon systems, and even if it did, we are outnumbered 20 to 1. The first Dominion soldier appeared at the entrance to the ship's compartment. Lisa had expected something monstrous or obviously alien, but the figure was surprisingly humanoid. The soldier was taller than most humans and covered in advanced armor, but the basic body structure was familiar. What was disturbing was the cold efficiency of their movements and the way their weapon tracked every motion with predatory precision. The soldier spoke in that harsh, guttural language, clearly issuing commands that neither Lisa nor Commander were expected to understand. When they did not respond immediately, the soldier raised their weapon in a threatening gesture. Commander moved slowly forward, positioning himself between Lisa and the weapon. Using the ship's translation system, he projected a response in the soldier's language. Lisa could not understand the words, but she could hear the tone of negotiation and diplomacy in Commander's voice. The soldier's response was sharp and dismissive. More soldiers began entering the compartment, systematically checking every corner and examining the equipment Lisa had just finished repairing. "What are they saying?" Lisa whispered. Commander's translation appeared on a nearby display. "They are demanding my surrender and your immediate detention. They consider you a hostile collaborator who must be eliminated." Eliminated? The Dominion does not tolerate interference from primitive species. They view your assistance to me as an act of war against their empire. One of the soldiers began examining the communications equipment with obvious expertise. They could clearly see that repairs had been made and that a transmission had been sent. The soldier's body language became more aggressive as they realized what had happened. "They know we contacted the Coalition fleet," Commander confirmed. "This changes their priorities. They will now try to capture us for immediate transport to their command ship for interrogation. What happens if they interrogate us? They will extract every detail about Coalition defensive capabilities, fleet movements, and strategic plans. The information in my memory could give them a decisive advantage in the coming battle." Lisa felt a surge of determination that surprised her. "Then we can't let them capture us. I do not understand. There is no escape from this situation." Lisa looked around the alien compartment, taking in all the equipment and technology she had just learned to operate. "You said this ship has defensive capabilities but no weapons?" "Correct. What about the engines? Are they still functional?" Commander checked several displays. "The main propulsion system is damaged beyond repair, but the emergency thrusters still have limited functionality." "Can you activate them?" "Yes, but they would only provide enough power for a few seconds of movement. Not enough to escape these soldiers." Lisa smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "I'm not thinking about escape. I'm thinking about creating a distraction." She quickly explained her plan to Commander, who initially protested that it was too dangerous. But as the Dominion soldiers began setting up equipment to transport their prisoners, he realized it might be their only option. "Are you certain you want to do this?" he asked. "The risk to you personally is extremely high." Lisa looked at the alien soldiers systematically dismantling Commander's communications equipment and preparing restraints for both of them. She thought about the Coalition fleet racing toward Earth and the massive Dominion invasion force following behind them. She thought about every human on her planet who had no idea that their fate was being decided by forces beyond their understanding. 3 days ago, I was worried about paying for groceries," she said quietly. "Now I have a chance to help decide the future of my entire species. Yes, I'm certain." Commander began activating the ship's emergency systems as Lisa positioned herself near the critical controls. Outside, she could hear more aircraft arriving and additional Dominion forces surrounding their position. Whatever they were going to do, it had to happen immediately. "Lisa," Commander's message appeared one final time. "Regardless of what happens next." Lisa's hand hovered over the emergency thruster controls as Commander made final adjustments to the ship's systems. The Dominion soldiers had finished setting up their prisoner transport equipment and were beginning to move toward them with restraint devices that looked far more advanced than simple handcuffs. "On my signal, activate the thrusters at maximum power for exactly 3 seconds, Commander instructed through the ship's display. "Any longer and we risk catastrophic structural failure. What exactly will happen when I do this?" "The emergency thrusters will fire downward into the ground, creating a massive explosion of debris and energy. It should disorient the soldiers long enough for me to activate the ship's emergency beacon." "Emergency beacon?" A distress signal that will alert both Coalition and Dominion fleets to our exact location. It will force them to respond immediately, rather than waiting for their planned engagement. Lisa realized the implications of this plan. You're trying to start the battle early. The Coalition fleet is still several hours away from full readiness. The Dominion forces are in a better position for immediate combat, but if we can force both sides to engage while they are still moving into position, it levels the strategic advantage. The lead Dominion soldier was now only a few meters away, speaking into a communication device while pointing in their direction. Lisa could see more soldiers taking positions outside the ship, clearly preparing for a coordinated assault if she and Commander resisted. Now, Lisa asked. Wait, I need to complete one more transmission. First, Commander's claws moved rapidly across the ship's controls as he sent what appeared to be a complex data package toward the approaching Coalition fleet. Lisa watched the transmission progress indicator climb toward completion while the Dominion soldiers continued their approach. What are you sending them? Everything. All my observations about human behavior, all the data from our interactions, and most importantly, video recordings of your actions over the past several days. They've been recording everything? Every moment since you brought me home. The Coalition High Command needed to see not just that humans could help other species, but how they help and why they choose to make sacrifices for others. The transmission completed just as the first Dominion soldier reached the ship's entrance. Commander's display showed, now. Lisa activated the emergency thrusters. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The ship's thrusters fired directly into the ground beneath them, creating an explosion that launched rocks, dirt, and debris in all directions. The sound was deafening, and the entire forest seemed to shake from the impact. The Dominion soldiers were thrown backward by the blast, their equipment scattered and their formation completely disrupted. In the chaos that followed, Commander activated the emergency beacon. A brilliant column of light shot up from the ship toward the sky, visible for hundreds of miles in all directions. The beacon pulsed with encoded signals that Lisa could not understand, but she could see on the ship's displays that both Coalition and Dominion forces were responding immediately. The beacon is active, Commander confirmed as debris continued to rain down around them. Both fleets are changing course toward our location. Through the settling dust, Lisa could see the Dominion soldiers regrouping. Several had been injured by the debris, but most were still operational and they looked very angry about the unexpected resistance. Their leader was shouting orders in their harsh language while pointing aggressively at the ship. They're going to attack us directly now, Lisa observed. Yes, but look at the sky. Lisa looked up and saw new lights beginning to appear among the stars. They were faint at first, but growing brighter as whatever was creating them moved closer to Earth. The lights had a different quality than the Dominion ships she had seen earlier. More blue and white instead of the ominous red glow of the enemy vessels. Coalition fleet? Advanced scouts. The main fleet is still an hour away, but these are fast attack ships that can engage immediately. The Dominion soldiers had reorganized and were advancing on the ship again, but now they seemed more urgent and less methodical. Lisa could see them looking up at the sky and communicating rapidly with their command structure. They're scared, she realized. The Dominion prefers to fight on their own terms. With overwhelming advantage and careful preparation, sudden engagements with unknown variables make them nervous. More lights appeared in the sky, and Lisa could now hear a new sound, the distinctive harmonic resonance of Coalition ships entering Earth's atmosphere. The sound was completely different from the harsh mechanical noise of Dominion vessels, more musical and somehow less threatening. Commander was working at the ship's controls again, apparently coordinating with the approaching Coalition forces. They are requesting immediate tactical information about Dominion positions and capabilities. Can you give them that? Yes, but there is something else happening that requires immediate decision from you. What do you mean? Commander activated a new display that showed a communication channel with the Coalition fleet. Text began appearing in English, apparently translated from the alien languages being used by the Coalition commanders. Human-designated Lisa Martinez. The message read, "Your actions in assisting Coalition Agent Rex 9 have been observed and evaluated. You are hereby offered immediate evacuation to Coalition protection and provisional citizenship in the Galactic Coalition, pending formal Earth membership approval." Lisa stared at the message. They're offering to take me with them? standard protocol for individuals who demonstrate exceptional courage in first contact situations. You would be protected from Dominion retaliation and given opportunities to serve as a human representative in coalition society. Another message appeared. Please respond immediately. Dominion forces are advancing on your position and evacuation window is limited. Lisa looked around the damaged ship compartment, then out at the Dominion soldiers who were now less than 50 meters away and closing fast. The offer was tempting, especially considering that staying on Earth would mean facing interrogation and probable execution by the Dominion forces. But something made her hesitate. What happens to Earth if I leave? She asked. Commander paused in his coordination activities. The Coalition will still make their decision about Earth membership based on all the data they have collected. Your presence or absence should not affect that decision. Should not? Lisa, you have become a symbol to the Coalition of human potential. Several member species have expressed specific interest in working with you personally on future projects. Your evacuation would be seen as a positive development. Another message appeared from the Coalition fleet. Evacuation craft approaching your position. Prepare for immediate transport. Lisa could see a small, sleek vehicle descending through the clouds toward their location. It moved with impossible grace, avoiding the energy weapons being fired at it by the Dominion ground forces. The ship's defensive system seemed to effortlessly deflect the enemy attacks while maintaining a smooth approach to the crash site. Lisa, Commander said urgently, you must decide now. The evacuation craft will only be able to maintain position for 60 seconds before Dominion reinforcements arrive. Lisa looked at the approaching Coalition ship, then at Commander, then at the display showing the tactical situation developing in Earth's orbit. Coalition and Dominion fleets were moving into position for a battle that would determine the fate of her entire planet. If I go with them, I become safe, but I also become separated from Earth during the most important moment in human history, she said slowly. That is correct. And if I stay, I'm probably going to be captured by these soldiers and used as a hostage against the Coalition. Also, correct. Lisa made her decision. Tell the Coalition. Evacuation craft to return to the fleet, she said firmly. Commanders. Displays showed surprise from the Coalition commanders. Messages began appearing rapidly. Human Lisa Martinez, you are in immediate danger. Evacuation is strongly recommended. I understand the danger, Lisa replied through Commander's communication system. But I'm staying on Earth. This is my world and these are my people. If the Coalition is going to decide whether to protect us or abandon us, I want to be here with my species when that decision is made. The Coalition evacuation craft hovered uncertainly for several more seconds, then began ascending back toward the fleet. Lisa watched it disappear into the clouds, knowing she had just refused what might have been her only chance at safety. Commander looked at her with what she was now certain was admiration. The Coalition commanders are describing your choice as unprecedented courage and extraordinary species loyalty. Is that good or bad for Earth's chances? Very good. The Coalition values species that prioritize collective welfare over individual safety. The Dominion soldiers had used the distraction of the Coalition evacuation craft to advance even closer. Lisa could now see their faces through their helmet visors, and what she saw there was not encouraging. These beings clearly viewed humans as inferior life forms, whose resistance was both annoying and insulting. What happens now? Lisa asked. Now we wait to see whether the Coalition decides Earth is worth fighting for, Commander replied as the first Dominion soldier reached the ship's entrance. The first Dominion soldier entered the ship's compartment with their weapon raised and ready. Lisa could see the alien's face clearly now through the transparent section of their helmet, and what she saw surprised her. The being looked almost human, but with features that were sharper and more angular. Their eyes held an intelligence that was unmistakably aware and calculating, but also completely cold and without any trace of empathy. Commander moved protectively in front of Lisa as more soldiers entered the compartment. He was transmitting continuously to the Coalition fleet, providing real-time intelligence about Dominion equipment and tactics. Lisa could see the tactical displays showing Coalition ships moving into defensive positions around Earth, while Dominion vessels approached from multiple directions. The lead soldier spoke in their harsh language, and Commander's translation system displayed the message, "You will surrender immediately and submit to transport for interrogation." Any resistance will result in immediate termination. Lisa was about to respond when something unexpected happened. The ship's communication system activated with an incoming message, but this one was not from the Coalition fleet. The transmission was coming from Earth itself, from multiple locations around the planet. "This is Major General Patricia Cole, United States Space Command," the voice said clearly through the ship's speakers. "We are receiving your translations of the alien communications, and we are coordinating a global response." Lisa stared at the communication panel in amazement. "The governments know what's happening?" Commander's display showed. "The Coalition fleet has been broadcasting everything to Earth's communication networks. Your governments have been watching our situation in real time." More voices began coming through the communication system. "This is Colonel Zhang Wei, Chinese People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force. Captain Elena Volkov, Russian Space Forces. Dr. Rajesh Patel, Indian Space Research Organization." The Dominion soldiers looked confused and angry as they heard human voices coordinating responses to their invasion. Their leader began speaking rapidly into their own communication device, clearly reporting this unexpected development to their superiors. "Attention all Earth forces," General Cole's voice continued. "We have confirmation that the beings calling themselves the Coalition are friendly and are currently defending our planet against hostile invaders. We are implementing Operation Unity, full global cooperation against the external threat." Lisa felt a surge of pride as she heard her species responding to the crisis with the same cooperation and determination that had made humans successful throughout their history. Around the world, military forces that had been enemies just hours ago were now working together against a common threat. The Dominion soldier leader received a response to their communication and began issuing new orders to their troops. Commander's translation showed, "Earth forces are demonstrating unexpected coordination. Command orders immediate extraction of prisoners for intelligence purposes before local resistance becomes organized." "They're going to take us now," Lisa realized. But before the soldiers could act, something extraordinary began happening outside the ship. Through the compartment opening, Lisa could see lights beginning to appear in the forest around them. Not the harsh energy weapons of the Dominion or the advanced technology of the Coalition, but simple human flashlights and vehicle headlights. "This is Sheriff Marcus Thompson, Clear Creek County," a new voice announced through the communication system. "We have approximately 200 armed citizens surrounding the alien crash site. The hostile forces are outnumbered and surrounded." Lisa looked at Commander in amazement. "How did they get here so fast?" "Your government broadcasts included our exact location. Human response time has been remarkably rapid." The Dominion soldiers were now clearly agitated. They had expected to deal with primitive resistance from a technologically inferior species. But the coordination and speed of the human response was obviously beyond their predictions. Through the forest, Lisa could hear human voices calling out instructions and coordinating positions. These were not just military personnel, but ordinary citizens who had grabbed whatever weapons they owned and driven into the mountains to help defend their planet. The Dominion had never encountered anything like this level of civilian participation in military defense. "Alien forces," Sheriff Thompson's voice boomed through a loudspeaker. "You are completely surrounded by Earth Defense Forces. Surrender immediately, or we will be forced to take action." The lead Dominion soldier spoke angrily into their communicator, clearly frustrated by the situation. Commander's translation showed their message. "Local population showing unprecedented coordination and courage. Request immediate air support for extraction." "Air support is not available," came the translated response. "Coalition fleet has established orbital superiority. All Dominion aircraft are engaged or destroyed." Lisa looked up at the sky and could see the truth of this statement. The space above Earth was filled with flashing lights as Coalition and Dominion ships fought in the upper atmosphere and beyond. The musical sound of Coalition engines mixed with the harsh mechanical noise of Dominion vessels created a symphony of interstellar warfare. "The Coalition is winning?" she asked Commander. "The engagement is more even than expected. Dominion forces are tactically superior, but Coalition ships are more maneuverable. However, the real surprise has been Earth's response." "What do you mean?" Commander activated a display showing global communications traffic. Lisa could see data streams from every continent as human governments, military forces, and civilian organizations coordinated their response to the invasion. Most primitive species react to first contact with panic, confusion, or attempts to hide from the superior technology. Humans have responded by immediately organizing collective defense and actively supporting the friendly forces. More voices came through the communication system as Lisa watched the global response unfold. Scientists were providing technical analysis of the alien technologies. Military strategists were coordinating with coalition commanders to share tactical information. Civilian groups were organizing supply lines and evacuation routes for areas under attack. "This is Dr. Sarah Kim, NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory," one transmission announced. "We have identified vulnerable frequencies in the Dominion shield harmonics, transmitting technical specifications to Coalition Fleet. Indian Space Research confirms the frequency analysis," another voice added. "We are also detecting power fluctuations in their weapon, systems that suggest overheating vulnerabilities." The Dominion soldiers in the ship compartment were receiving increasingly urgent messages from their commanders. Lisa could see their body language becoming more tense and desperate as their invasion plan fell apart around them. "They're losing," she realized. The Dominion strategy assumed Earth would be defenseless and that coalition forces would be reluctant to commit fully to defending a primitive world. Both assumptions have proven incorrect. Outside the ship, the human forces were tightening their encirclement. Lisa could hear Sheriff Thompson coordinating with military units while ordinary citizens provided intelligence about Dominion positions and movements. "This is remarkable." Commander's display showed a message from the coalition fleet. "Human tactical adaptation and coordination capabilities exceed all previous observations. Recommend immediate provisional membership approval." "Provisional membership?" Lisa asked. "Emergency protection status while formal evaluation is completed. It means Earth will receive full coalition defensive support and access to basic technologies." The lead Dominion soldier made a final desperate attempt to salvage their mission. They pointed their weapon directly at Lisa and spoke harshly to Commander. The translation was clear. "Surrender and submit to extraction or the human will be terminated." Commander began to move toward the soldier, but Lisa placed her hand on his back to stop him. "Tell them something for me," she said calmly. "What message?" Lisa looked directly at the Dominion soldier and spoke clearly. "Tell them that if they want to fight humans, they picked the wrong species." As if summoned by her words, the sound of human engines filled the air outside the ship. Military helicopters, civilian aircraft, and ground vehicles had converged on their location from every direction. The Dominion soldiers were no longer facing a small group of isolated prisoners, but an entire planet that had united to defend itself. The coalition fleet commander's voice came through the communication system with a tone that Lisa interpreted as satisfaction. "Earth Defense Forces. This is Coalition Fleet Admiral Zara Prime. Your species has demonstrated exceptional courage and adaptability. The Galactic Coalition formally recognizes Earth as a protected world under emergency provisions." "Does that mean we won?" Lisa asked Commander. "It means your species has proven itself worthy of galactic citizenship in the most dramatic way possible," he replied as the Dominion soldiers began reluctantly, lowering their weapons in surrender. 6 months had passed since the day that became known as First Contact Day, and Lisa still sometimes had trouble believing how much her life had changed. She stood in the observation deck of the Coalition orbital station that now hung in permanent orbit around Earth, watching as the latest group of human students arrived for interspecies education programs. The station itself was a marvel of technology that combined coalition engineering with human design principles. After Earth's acceptance into the coalition, human architects and engineers had worked alongside alien specialists to create a facility that felt welcoming to both species. The result was a structure that looked like a fusion of advanced spacecraft and earthly university campus. Commander, who now went by his real name Rex 9 but still answered to Commander when Lisa called him, stood beside her watching the arriving shuttles. His injuries had healed completely, and the biomechanical interfaces that had once made him look like a wounded animal now appeared as elegant technological enhancements that marked him as a coalition officer. "The integration process continues to exceed all projections," Rex 9 observed, his communication now coming through a small device that translated his thoughts directly into audible English. "Human adaptation to galactic technology and social structures is happening faster than any species in coalition history. Lisa smiled as she watched human children playing with young members of several coalition species in the station's recreational areas. The scene that had seemed impossible just months ago now looked completely natural. We've always been good at adapting to new situations. That is precisely why the Coalition High Command made their decision so quickly, Rex 9 replied. Most species require decades or centuries of gradual introduction to galactic society. Humans were ready for full integration within weeks. The changes on Earth had been dramatic but largely positive. Coalition technology had solved many problems that had plagued humanity for generations. Clean energy, advanced medical treatments, and efficient transportation systems had been shared freely with Earth's governments. In return, humans had contributed their unique perspectives on problem-solving and conflict resolution to coalition projects throughout the galaxy. Lisa had become one of the primary human liaisons to the coalition, splitting her time between Earth and various coalition worlds. Her veterinary training had proven invaluable when working with alien species, many of whom had biological systems that were surprisingly similar to Earth animals. More importantly, her demonstrated compassion and courage had made her a trusted ambassador for her entire species. The morning briefing mentioned something about a new assignment, Lisa said, looking at Rex 9 curiously. Yes. The Coalition Science Council has approved your proposal for the Interspecies Medical Research Program. You will be leading a team of researchers from 12 different worlds to study biological compatibility and develop universal treatment protocols. Lisa felt a familiar mixture of excitement and nervousness at the prospect of such a significant responsibility. 12 worlds? That's more than I expected. Your work with cross-species medical treatment has gained attention throughout the coalition. The research station will be established in the Kepler 442 system, approximately 1,200 light-years from Earth. How long would the assignment last? 5 Earth years, with regular return visits to both Earth and Coalition headquarters. But Lisa, there is something else you should know about this assignment. Rex 9 activated a holographic display that showed details about the research program. Lisa could see that it was far more extensive than she had originally proposed, involving hundreds of researchers and multiple space stations. This is not just a research program, Rex 9 explained. It is the first major coalition project to be led by a human. Your species has been members of the coalition for less than 1 year, but you are already being trusted with significant leadership responsibilities. Lisa studied the project details, feeling overwhelmed by the scope of what was being offered to her. Why me specifically? Because you have demonstrated the qualities that make humans valuable to the coalition. You show compassion for all species, you adapt quickly to new situations, and you make decisions based on what is best for the greater community, rather than just your own interests. As they talked, Lisa noticed a familiar figure approaching them through the station's corridors. Dr. Patricia Cole, the same general who had coordinated Earth's defense during the invasion, was now serving as Earth's primary military liaison to the coalition. She had become a close friend and advisor to Lisa during the integration process. Lisa, Rex 9, General Cole greeted them with a warm smile. I wanted to update you on the latest developments from Earth. Good news, I hope? Lisa asked. Very good news. The global cooperation that began during the invasion has continued and expanded. We've had 6 months without any major international conflicts, and the coalition technology sharing programs have eliminated poverty in 43 countries. And the less good news? Lisa could tell from the general's expression that there was more to the story. Some groups on Earth are having difficulty accepting our new galactic status. There have been protests and some political resistance to the integration programs. Rex 9 nodded understandingly. This is normal for newly contacted species. Fear of change and loss of independence are common reactions. How serious is the resistance? Lisa asked. Not serious enough to threaten Earth's coalition membership, General Cole assured her. But it's something we need to monitor carefully. The coalition has made it clear that membership can be revoked if a species becomes unstable or hostile. Lisa looked out at the Earth visible through the observation deck's transparent walls. Her home planet looked peaceful and beautiful from this distance, but she knew that the changes brought by coalition contact were creating challenges as well as opportunities. Is there anything I can do to help with the resistance movements? Actually, yes, General Cole said, activating her own datapad. The Coalition Council has requested that you participate In a series of public broadcasts to Earth, they want you to share your experiences and help explain the benefits of galactic citizenship. Public broadcast to the entire planet. Lisa felt a familiar nervousness at the thought of such exposure. You've become a symbol of successful human-alien cooperation, Rex 9 pointed out. Your story resonates with people because it began with a simple act of kindness that anyone could have performed. Lisa thought about this. Her story had indeed become well known on Earth and throughout Coalition space. The woman who paid $5 for an injured dog that turned out to be an alien officer had become a popular example of how individual actions could have galactic consequences. There's something else, General Cole continued. The Coalition has made a formal request for you to consider permanent residence on one of the Coalition core worlds. It would be a tremendous honor for both you and Earth. Permanent residence? Away from Earth? You would still be Earth's representative, but you would be based at Coalition headquarters. It would make you the first human to hold a permanent position in the galactic government. Lisa looked at Rex 9, who had been watching this conversation with interest. What do you think? I think you should make the decision that feels right for you, he replied. But I will tell you that the Coalition leadership has never made such an offer to a member of a newly contacted species. This would be unprecedented. Lisa walked over to the observation window and looked down at Earth again. 6 months ago, she had been a struggling veterinary student whose biggest concern was paying for groceries. Now she was being offered a position that would make her one of the most influential humans in galactic society. But as she thought about it, she realized that the core motivation behind all these opportunities was the same one that had led her to help an injured dog with her last $5. She wanted to help others, whether they were Earth animals, alien beings, or entire civilizations. I'll do the broadcasts, she said finally, and I'll take the research assignment. But I want to maintain my residence on Earth. This is my home, and I want to stay connected to the world that shaped who I am. That can certainly be arranged. General Cole nodded approvingly. As they continued discussing the details of Lisa's future assignments, she reflected on how much had changed since that day at the roadside animal sale. Her simple act of compassion had indeed changed the fate of 2 civilizations, but it had also changed her own life in ways she could never have imagined. Rex 9 seemed to sense her thoughts. Do you ever regret your decision to help me that day? Lisa looked at her alien friend, thinking about everything that had followed from that moment. The danger, the responsibility, the incredible opportunities, and the weight of representing her entire species in galactic affairs. Never, she said without hesitation. It was the best $5 I ever spent. Outside the observation window, a new group of Coalition ships was arriving at Earth, bringing more opportunities for cooperation and exchange between species. Lisa watched them approach, knowing that she would soon be traveling to distant worlds she had never imagined, working with beings she was still learning to understand. But she also knew that no matter how far her journey took her,